So one of the biggest things I do is to help quiet that sort of lizard mind. Once it's quiet, I help people then tune in to that intuitive voice to get what is true and what is clear and what is your best next step.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women, where we talk about challenges senior female leaders face in being happy and successful at work. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah E. Brown. My guest today is Allyson Scammell. She is a master certified coach, EFT practitioner, and intuitive consultant. Her mission is to help soul-guided women entrepreneurs who are fed up with their efforts exceeding their income to grow their business wealth, reach and impact using their own soul superpowers and divine guidance system. By way of background, after earning a master's in international affairs from Columbia University, she went on to work for 17 years in international development and humanitarian affairs at the U.S. Agency for International Development and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. At some point in those 17 years, she received a higher calling to leave that work and do something entrepreneurial in greater alignment to her own soul's purpose. And since then, she has coached hundreds of women and some men in the realm of spiritual growth and business growth. She produces a podcast, has launched local communities for soul-guided women in 3 countries, and is working on a 4th, and has served as a keynote speaker. Welcome, Allyson.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
So just to get us started, can you give us a definition of what soul-guided business growth is?
Absolutely. So I define soul-guided business growth to be just that, sort of using that voice of your soul, your higher self, your intuition, your heart, however you describe it, to make your big business decisions. And when you and that actually means quieting that rational brain that wants to analyze what has worked in the past, and it wants to create a body of evidence first for what works or what will work for you, so you can follow that evidence of what works and allow that to create your business path. But soul-guided business growth might take you in a direction you never dreamed of. It might push you to that edge of your comfort zone without the evidence that it's going to work. And in doing that, you really are heeding the voice of that higher self that's calling you to go in a direction that is going to be the most exhilarating for you. And it's going to allow you to be at your very best. And it's going to allow you to be in greatest service to the people you feel called to help.
So for your clients, and you've helped hundreds of women and some men as well, what's the biggest challenge that you're helping them to face?
So the biggest challenge that I help them to face is quieting that thinking mind that has it has the mission. It's not a bad thing, but it has the mission of keeping us safe. So it's going to keep us inside our comfort zone. It's going to keep us always looking for the evidence of what will work. And while at times that is important, I'm not saying that you should throw out evidence of what's working, but it will sometimes tell you not to take the risk, to play it safe, to do what others are doing, or to take on models that other people use that work, even when that model feels really bad and not at all authentic to you. So it's one of the biggest things I do is I help them to quiet that thinking mind that's really very activated throughout our day. And certainly, now with what's happening in the world, there's a lot of fear happening. And anytime that fear is triggered, our fear instinct is figured, our brain is really going to start to activate and calculate different ways to keep us safe. So one of the biggest things I do is to help quiet that sort of lizard mind And
Hmm.
once it's quiet, I help people then tune in to that intuitive voice to get what is true and what is clear and what is your best next step.
Hmm. So, what is the biggest mistake your clients make before they start working with you?
The biggest mistake I see people making is using formulas that work for other people that feel terrible for them. Cutting off that soul voice, that intuitive voice to really get to that outward success. And what I mean by that is really striving for, they want more income, which is great. They want a bigger reach, larger audience. Yes to that. Yes to all of that. But without doing that inner work first. And what I mean by that is there anything going on inside? Are there any blocks inside, any fears that are holding you back? And so instead of taking a moment to pause and look inward, and be like, where am I holding myself back? Where am I feeling blocked? Where is there resistance? How can I clear that up? And then getting back to that, how can I get quiet and really tune into that intuitive voice and be guided by that to what is next and guided to, and there's nothing wrong with models. There's nothing wrong with, cookie cutter approaches as long as they feel good to you. So
Hmm.
if you are going to be guided to a model, you're guided to the one that is in alignment and it allows you to really show up as your authentic self.
Hmm. Very interesting. So, what would be one free and actionable tip that you can give my audience to address this challenge right now? What can they do today?
So one thing they can do today is they can check in with their divine guidance system. And that is an interesting way. I call your divine guidance system has 4 parts. And the first part is your intuitive voice. Okay. So most of us are pretty familiar with our intuition. And the second part of your divine guidance system, and I'm going to go there if it's okay, is other non-physical consciousness that is here. If this is part of your belief system, there are, angels and archangels and other wise non-physical conscious here that is here to hold you, guide you, and support you on your path. So you can tune into that. There is universal intelligence that's always that's always activated and always responding to your questions whenever you have them. And then the last part of your divine guidance system is emotional and physical cues. So when you're feeling free and creative and loved and connected and joyous, that's obviously a cue that you're going in the right direction. And physically, you're feeling light and expansive and full. And then, vice that if you're feeling, small and constricted and separate and all those things, that's telling you that that's guiding you to maybe you're going down the wrong path. So the tip I have is to get to know if you already know it, great, but get to know it even better, your divine guidance system. So how is it that your intuitive voice speaks to you, for example? And there are 4 different ways to receive information from our intuitive voice. You can either see it, that's like a clairvoyant, like I see symbols. I ask my intuition a question and I get a vision for where do I need to grow my business in the next 12 months? I get a vision of where I want to be in 12 months. If your dominant intuitive voice is something you hear, like you're clairaudient, you will hear it. You will hear a message. Like, you need to add this program on to your business, for example. Some people are clairsentient, so they just sense the answer. Like they sense where they would need to grow their business, using that as an example. And the last is a claircognizant. There's just this inner knowing. Like, I know I have to do this thing for my business. So that's getting to know your dominant intuitive gift and how you can most easily speak to your intuitive voice for guidance and direction on where to go next.
Hmm. Very interesting. And what resource would you point my audience to so that they could understand this challenge better?
So if you hop over to my website, AllysonScammell.com, I offer 3 free guided visioning exercises. And these visioning exercises are designed to do just what I'm talking about, helping you to quiet your mind and your thinking mind and really to tap into your intuitive voice to get a vision of where you want to grow to in 6 months' time and precisely where to place your focus today so you can shift into alignment to that vision.
Very cool. So, Allyson, what one question should I have asked you that will help our audience understand this challenge and take action on it? And I didn't ask you. And then please provide an answer.
Well, this is a very specific question, so I would have never expected you to ask it. But I think it's helpful. The question that I find helpful to ask is, how do you take me, Allyson, step by step, how to connect to my intuitive voice? Okay, I've spoken about it. I've referred to it, but take me through step by step how to do it. So I'm going to do that right now. Step one is to quiet the mind. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. That's your thinking mind. And one of the best ways to do it is to step away from all technology, all screens, because that activates our thinking brain. Close your eyes and just focus on your breath. It's not even meditation. It's just focusing. If meditation isn't something that comes easy to you, just see it as focusing on the breath for 3 long, deep breaths and making your inhales and your exhales the same length and really breathing into the lower part of your belly. And that will have the effect of slowing down your thoughts. So that's step one. Step two is the pivot down that I call it. And once you've taken in the deep breaths, you're going to pivot down to your heart space, your heart chakra. And that is the energetic space that is connected to your voice of intuition. And you're going to place all of your awareness on that heart chakra, that space at the center of your chest. And from that space, from that heart chakra space, you're going to move to step 3, which is to asking the questions. And our intuitive voice always responds with very few words. If you ever get a really long-winded answer, that means your brain is filtering and it's calculating what it thinks the answer should be, which is fine. But your intuition will say yes, no. It'll be, you are loved, you are held. They're usually very enlightened and loving answers, but they'll say, launch in May, work less, it'll be very snippets of divine guidance. So you want to ask your questions in a way that isn't so open-ended that your intuition is going to have a hard time answering. So make it kind of specific questions. Yes, no, or when should I do this? Or, what's my ideal client struggling with right now? Is it this or is it that? What's my best focus? So ask pretty specific questions that are easy to answer. And then step 4 is receiving. And that's when you really get to know your dominant intuitive voice, intuitive gift, which I was explaining earlier. Do you see it, hear it, know it, or sense it? And of course, you can have all 4 gifts at the same time, but most of us have a dominant, and then you can kind of get a relationship going with your intuitive voice so you can really tap into it whenever you want to and really start to trust that wisdom that comes through.
Well, Allyson, very, very interesting. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
You're so welcome. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women. If you like what you are hearing, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave a review. And if you would like more information on how we can help women in your organization to thrive, then go to www.sarahebrown.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, read show notes and learn more about our podcast guests, read my blog, browse through the books, or contact us for a chat. Goodbye for now.